Good evening, everyone. Can I first of all start by thanking all of you for taking some time to come along to this meeting on a Friday night. In particular, I want to thank all of the messages of solidarity that we've had today, and also our guest speaker for spending a Friday evening with us. I think it's really important that we have a look at what is behind this issue. I know one of my members just got up and told us that he had found Virgin to have dealt with him fairly when he was a rep, and I'm not disputing that. But I've been around trade unions all my adult life, and usually what happens is that if somebody does something wrong, there is a fair procedure in place. There's an investigation which is conducted speedily, and once that investigation is conducted, charges will either follow or the thing will be dropped. If there are charges, then there is a hearing where that person can be represented at that hearing, and following that, if they do not like what comes out of the hearing, then there is an appeal. The question you need to answer, if you think that it's not being picked on, because it's a rep, is why has that process not happened? Because I tell you, I've been involved in trade unions since I was 15. That's 30 years I've been involved in trade unions. And when somebody doesn't carry out due process, I always smell a rat. And I've gone back. I went and phoned Tony Collins, the chief executive of Virgin Trains. And I said to him, and maybe I was being generous, because I wasn't asking for the world, and maybe I should have been more ambitious. But all I said to him was, all you have to do is get Martin back to work and treat him in the same way that you would treat any other employee. I wasn't asking for anything that he couldn't deliver. Yet, they have chosen to keep him at home for the last 6 months, rather than being at work where he wants to be. So the question, and I hope you take this back as well to your colleagues, the questions no, I'm saying to your colleagues, to your work colleagues, the question that I have got for Virgin is, why is Martin being treated differently than anybody else? And it doesn't take a brain surgeon to work out that the difference between Martin and most other people in the company is that he is a trade union rep. And one that I pay tribute to, because he stood up, he did his job properly, and he was not scared to stand up to represent the views of my members in that workplace. And that is the issue that is at stake here today. That's all this is about. You know, all that Virgin needs to do is lift up the phone and say he can come back to work and give us a guarantee that he will be treated in the same way as everybody else. Because if he is, he's got nothing whatsoever to answer. You know, he was ill 3 years ago. 3 years ago. He's got a certificate that says that he was the best attender in his department. So clearly, attendance and illness is not an issue. So what is the issue? They conducted a one-day investigation where my paid official and the manager who was sitting opposite him reached the same conclusion, that frankly, there were no charges to be laid for Martin. And that's what we want. We want him to go back and work. I mean, what a waste of time. He's sitting at home. They're paying him to sit at home. He doesn't want to sit at home. He wants to earn his living in a fair way, and that is by actually turning up to work. So look, we need to get that message across. For those of you who work in Virgin, this is incredibly simple. This is about somebody being treated with the dignity and respect that everyone in this room deserves. That's what we're asking for. As I said, maybe we should have been more ambitious and asked for a bit more. But that's all we're asking for. We're asking for fairness of treatment. And I heard what the colleague from the CWU said about Richard Branson. You know, he's got this appearance of being some kind of fluffy boss. You know, Britain's favourite entrepreneur. The man that, you know, you will love to work for. Yet, when you see that video in America, and this was only a couple of months ago, where he's actually trying to intimidate, he's not convinced, let's be honest about this, he was trying to intimidate workers from asserting their right to be represented by a trade union of their choice. When you see that, it doesn't take much then to realize that what's happening within Virgin in the UK is not an isolated incident. It is part and parcel of what he does. Look, I want to finish on this because I like to finish with a message of hope. We had an employer called Network Rail. You've all heard about them, okay? They had the same way of dealing with people. We ran a campaign in Network Rail, and it took us 5 years. 5 years to win. But we targeted its chief executive. He's now gone. We targeted the HR director. They are now gone. And I tell you what happened as a result of that. A new culture came in. Yes, we're not always going to agree with employers. We're not. But actually there is respect for all the people that work there. And they're treated fairly. Yes, and if somebody does something wrong, they're given the chance to have a fair hearing and to have representation. But they're not being walked out the door with a brown envelope when they've done nothing wrong. It took us 4 years to do that. It's not going to take us that long to turn Virgin around. And I tell you, I gave a commitment from this platform, and I know Martin fully appreciates this. We will do whatever we need to do to make sure that justice is done with Martin. Thank you very much for coming along tonight.